I never realized how fast a normal moment can turn into the memory that follows you for the rest of your life. And the part that still gets me is how ordinary everything was before it happened. How harmless the favor seemed. If I had known what that house was hiding, I swear I never would have stepped inside. My name's Derek. I'm 26, and what I'm about to tell you happened 2 winters ago. During a weekend, I was supposed to be doing something simple. Something as harmless as house-sitting for my boss. He asked me last minute, said he was flying out to help his sister with something and needed someone to stay at his place, feed his golden retriever, and grab a few packages off his porch. His house was in this quiet cul-de-sac outside of town, the type of place where people mow their lawns twice a week and wave at each other, but barely know each other's names. I'd been there before. It was comfortable, warm, filled with the kind of framed pictures adults hang on the walls when they don't expect anything chaos-like to enter their lives. And honestly, I needed the money. So I said sure, figured it'd be peaceful, maybe even boring. But not even an hour after I got there, the house did something that made my stomach tighten, in a way I still can't fully explain. At first, everything was normal. The dog was happy. I fed him, walked him, threw a ball up and down the hallway. I watered a couple plants, brought in 2 Amazon packages. I ordered pizza, turned on the TV, and settled onto the couch like I was the new temporary owner of the place. Nothing weird, nothing unsettling. But around 9:30, while I was washing my plate in the sink, I heard something upstairs. Not footsteps, not the house settling. It was the unmistakable sound of a fingernail scraping slowly down a window pane. That high, thin, slow drag, like someone testing the glass. I froze with the plate still in my hands. The dog lifted his head from his bed and stared toward the staircase, ears pricked. He didn't bark, he didn't growl. He just stared like he'd heard that noise before. I told myself it was the wind, or I don't know, a branch. I grabbed my phone's flashlight and slowly went upstairs, calling out a soft, "Hello?" like an idiot. The master bedroom window showed nothing but the backyard. No branches touching the house, no animals, no footprints in the snow, just silence. I told myself I was imagining things and went back downstairs, but the atmosphere changed. It was like the air inside the house got heavier, like it had its own pulse. I tried to shake it off. I put on a movie, made some popcorn, tried to relax. But around midnight, the dog suddenly stood up and stared toward the kitchen. His whole body stiffened, and then I heard it. Very slow, heavy steps on the tile floor, like someone was walking barefoot. The steps moved, then stopped. My heart rate spiked so fast I felt it in my teeth. I grabbed the nearest object, a thick metal paperweight shaped like a dumbbell, and crept into the kitchen. The light switch didn't work. The room was pitch black. The steps had stopped, but I could feel that something had been there. I turned around quickly. Nothing. I checked the back door twice. Locked. Windows. Locked. Pantry. Empty. And then I noticed the LED on the microwave was off. I checked my phone. Dead. Not low. Dead. I unplugged it. Plugged it back in. Nothing. I checked the lamp on the counter. Also dead. That's when it hit me. The house had lost power. But only inside. Because outside, through the blinds, I could see the streetlight still glowing in the cul-de-sac. The power outage wasn't a neighborhood issue. It was just this house. I tried the alarm panel, blank. I tried the thermostat, blank. The entire place was offline, and then something scraped down the mudroom door, the one that led to the garage. Not a knock, not a bump. A slow, deliberate drag, like someone was testing the wood with their fingernails again. The dog whimpered and backed away. I held the dumbbell paperweight like it would actually help and whispered, "Who's there?" My voice cracked like I was 13. No answer. Just silence, thick enough to choke on. I stayed awake until almost 2 a.m., pacing between rooms, checking locks, trying to call literally anyone when my phone came back to life. But nothing turned on. No electricity. No service, no emergency call ability. Sometime around 2:15, the light suddenly flickered and the house powered back up like nothing happened. My phone vibrated with old notifications. The thermostat beeped. The alarm panel relit. I checked every room. Everything looked exactly the same, but that scrape against the mudroom door kept replaying in my head. The next night was worse, way worse. Around 12:40 a.m., the dog suddenly bolted toward the living room window and growled. I rushed over, lifted the blind an inch, and saw someone walking slowly past the side of the house. Not a neighbor, not a teenager, a tall figure with a long coat and a hood pulled low. They were holding a flashlight, not on, but hanging loosely at their side. They moved with this weird, patient slowness, like they weren't afraid of being seen. I pulled the blind down fast and stepped back. For a moment, I just stood there, breathing like I'd run a mile. When I checked again, the figure was gone. I texted my boss. No answer. I tried calling 911. It rang, then dropped. Like the call was being blocked. The dog circled the living room, over and over, whining. I spent the rest of the night sitting upright on the couch with every light on. At sunrise, I checked outside. At first, everything looked normal, and then I noticed something on the mudroom door. The same door that got scraped the night before. Long, thin scratch marks dragging across the metal handle, and a dark smear, like someone had dragged their hand across it with dirty or wet fingers. I took a picture and sent it to my boss. He didn't respond for hours, and while I waited, I found something much worse. While watering plants above the garage, I noticed a small object tucked under the eave. A tiny, beat-up external camera wrapped in duct tape, aimed directly at the sliding backyard door. And it wasn't one of the house's security cameras. It looked cheap, old, and hand-mounted, like someone installed it secretly. My stomach dropped hard. I called my boss and told him. He went silent. Then he said, "Don't touch it. Call the police." But I didn't. Partially because I was scared, and partially because I didn't want to sound insane describing scratches and footsteps and weird power outages. I called my friend instead. He said he'd drive over. He didn't. That night, I slept in the living room with the dog at my feet. Around 3 a.m., a soft tapping on the window woke me up. Just 3 slow taps. I shot upright, grabbed my flashlight, and crept toward the front door. I flicked the light on through the peephole and saw nothing. But as I stepped away, the dog ran to the garage door and growled. I walked to the garage with shaking hands, opened the interior door, and shone the flashlight around. Nothing. Then I turned toward the driveway and froze. Someone was standing at the far edge of the driveway, not moving, facing the house. Hood pulled down low. The moment my light touched them, they tilted their heads slightly, like they were studying me. And then they raised one hand and made a slow scraping motion in the air, like mocking the sound from the first night. I slammed the door shut so hard the frame rattled. I grabbed the keys. I grabbed the dog. I didn't care. We both got in my car and I drove straight to the nearest police station. The police came back with me, walked the property, checked the eaves, took the hidden camera. They pulled up the neighbor's surveillance footage since the street had outdoor cams everywhere, and there it was. In grainy black and white footage, the same figure slowly walked around the boss's yard multiple times, scanning windows, watching the house. At one point, the camera caught them standing motionless in the driveway, hand raised toward my car's window, exactly when I was inside sleeping. The police gave me the usual line. "We'll patrol. We'll keep an eye out. Don't stay alone. Lock your doors." It wasn't enough to make me feel safe. I told my boss I was done. I'd tried. I did my part. I didn't want to stay anymore. But he begged me, literally begged me to stay until he returned Sunday night. Said the dog needed someone. Said he couldn't change his flight. Against every instinct I had left, I agreed. When he finally came home, he wasn't relieved. He wasn't grateful. He was angry. "Why did you stay?" he asked, voice sharp. I told him everything. Every noise, every detail, every scrape, every shadow. And his expression changed from anger to something like guilt. Then he told me the truth. Someone had been stalking his ex-girlfriend for nearly a year. A man she'd met at a hospital. Someone unstable, obsessed, and extremely patient. He'd followed her across states, installed hidden cameras, left footprints and scratches around her old apartment, left notes. He'd even been spotted in their old neighborhood peeking into windows at night. My boss had moved partly because of that, got new locks, installed a new alarm system. He thought the man didn't know where he lived now, but he was wrong. When the boss finished explaining, I felt sick. I realized I wasn't dealing with a ghost or some random prowler. This was a real person. Someone who was patient enough to watch the house, smart enough to kill the power from the outside breaker, quiet enough to avoid every camera except one. Someone who liked being seen, but not recognized. And as if that wasn't enough, when I left his house that night, I found a note under my windshield wiper. 4 words, written in small, careful handwriting. Thanks for staying awake. I reported it. The police took it seriously. Months later, an arrest was made. Not the hooded figure specifically, but someone tied to a string of stalking incidents with the same pattern. Hidden cameras, footprints, late-night visits. The kind of person who wanted to be noticed just enough. The dog ended up fine. My boss moved states again. I still house-a-sit sometimes, but I always check the eaves. I always check the backyard. I always check the breaker box. And I never ignore the sound of fingernails on a window again. Because the truth is, the scariest horror stories aren't supernatural. They're the ones where someone living and breathing decides you're worth watching and waits for you to notice. I still don't know why I agreed to it. House sitting was never really my thing, but I needed the extra cash, and at the time, it felt like the easiest job in the world. Just stay at someone's place, keep the lights on, collect the mail, and make sure nothing catches on fire. Simple. I had no idea I'd walk into something that would change how I look at houses forever, even my own. My name is Logan, I'm 24, and this happened last summer when I was still living in Arizona. A co-worker of mine, Haley, asked me to watch her aunt's house for 4 days while the woman was on a cruise. I'd never met the aunt, but Haley said she was sweet, super organized, and lived in a safe neighborhood. The only thing I had to be aware of, according to Haley, was that her aunt was paranoid about security. Cameras everywhere. A complicated alarm system. A thick binder with instructions on literally everything. I didn't think much of it. Some older people are just like that. I drove over that Friday afternoon to get the keys and instructions. When I arrived, the house looked normal. A beige stucco home with white trim, the type you see all over Arizona suburbs. But the moment I stepped inside, I understood what she meant by paranoid. There were cameras in every corner, motion sensors by every door, locks that looked like they belonged in a bank vault instead of a house. And the binder, this massive 3-inch binder, sat on the kitchen island with sticky notes poking out of every chapter. Haley walked me through each thing like she was training me for a mission. How to turn the alarm on at night, how to check the backyard motion feed, how to reset the camera system if something froze. I joked, "Does your aunt expect a war or something?" Haley didn't laugh. She just said, "It's important to her. Please follow everything exactly." That should have been a red flag. But I brushed it off, took the keys, fed the aunt's cat, and settled in. I'm not exaggerating when I say the first night was peaceful. Really peaceful. Too peaceful. The house was soundproof in a way I wasn't used to. No traffic noise, no wind, no neighbors yelling or kids playing. Just this eerie, padded silence. Around 10 p.m., after watching a movie, I went through the binder's checklist. Lock all doors, arm the alarm, check the backyard camera feed, make sure the garage sensor is active. Everything was normal. I went to bed. Around 2 a.m., I woke up to the sound of the cat hissing. Not meowing, hissing. Loud, angry, territorial hissing. I sat up, turned on my phone flashlight, and saw the cat standing at the bedroom door with its back arched and fur puffed out. I listened. Nothing. I walked to the hall, and that's when I heard it. Soft, rhythmic creaking, like someone rocking back and forth on old wooden floorboards. But the floorboards upstairs weren't wood. They were carpet over cement. The creaking was slow, steady, almost thoughtful, like someone shifting their weight while standing perfectly still. I checked the upstairs hallway, empty, cat still hissing. I went downstairs, heart pounding. The creaking stopped. Every door was still locked. Alarm system armed. Motion feed showed nothing. I blamed it on the house settling and went back upstairs, though it took almost an hour for the adrenaline to drop. Day 2 was calm. I ran errands, fed the cat, watched Netflix, checked the cameras. Nothing weird. But the second night, that's when things slipped into a place I can't explain away. Around midnight, while scrolling through TikTok, the alarm system beeped. It didn't go off fully, no siren, but it flashed a warning. Backyard motion triggered. I clicked the live feed. Nothing. The backyard was empty. No raccoons, no cats, no wind, no movement. Just the dim porch light glowing over the patio furniture. I checked every angle. Nothing. I reset it. 2 minutes later, beep. Same message. I refreshed the feed. Still nothing. The cat bolted under the couch like it had been kicked. I got this strange cold feeling in my arms, like someone was breathing on me. I turned the lights on and stayed awake until sunrise. I didn't sleep at all. The third day I told myself I was just letting the house get to me. I kept busy, cleaned, played with the cat, called my sister. But the moment the sun set, the house felt tense again. That thick silence came back. I couldn't shake the anxiety crawling up my back. Around 1 a.m., while heating up leftovers, I heard the creaking again. This time louder, slower, coming from the living room. I froze, spoon still in my hand. The cat stared at the living room doorway, eyes huge. I turned off the microwave and walked slowly toward the sound. The living room was dark. I flicked on the light. Nothing there. But the creaking continued, this time behind me. I spun around, shining my phone like a weapon. It stopped. I felt watched. The hair on my arms lifted. I checked the camera monitor again. Backyard feed frozen. I tried refreshing it. It wouldn't reload. Every other camera worked. The backyard one stayed stuck on a frame from 6 hours earlier. Anxiety turned into anger and fear mixed together. I grabbed a jacket and went outside. I don't know what I expected. Maybe a raccoon messing with the wiring. But the moment I stepped into the backyard, I felt this intense, overwhelming wrongness. Like someone had been standing out there for hours, staring at the house. The kind of feeling that hits you in your gut, not your head. I walked slowly toward the side gate, scanning with my phone light. Nothing. I turned back toward the house and froze. The porch light flickered once, then the kitchen light inside the house flicked on. I hadn't touched any switches. I went inside fast, heart racing, and saw the cat hiding behind the fridge. That's when my phone buzzed. A notification from the security app tied to the cameras. My stomach dropped when I saw it. New video clip, backyard camera, motion detected. I clicked it. It wasn't a normal clip. The footage was pitch black except for a faint outline, a silhouette, a person, standing completely still, facing the house, their shape barely visible, like they were pressed against the lens. The clip was only 3 seconds long, and the timestamp wasn't from when I was outside. It was from an hour earlier. I felt sick. That meant someone had been out there while I was inside, completely unaware. I armed the alarm and triple-checked the locks. I didn't sleep at all. The fourth night is the one that still shows up in my dreams months later. It was around 3:10 a.m. I remember the exact time because I kept looking at the glowing red numbers on the alarm panel. I was lying on the couch with the TV on mute just to have some light in the room. The cat suddenly lifted its head and stared at the front door. Not the usual stare. This was rigid, terrified, ears flat. Then the doorbell rang. One single chime. Soft, slow. I didn't move. I didn't breathe. My whole body went numb. Nobody rings a doorbell at 3 a.m. unless it's an emergency or something worse. I stood up as quietly as I could and walked to the door. I didn't open it. I looked through the peephole. Nothing. No one on the porch, no car, no movement, just darkness. I backed away and checked the camera feed. The front porch camera was offline, frozen, glitched. The timestamp was stuck on 3:09. 1 minute earlier, the doorbell rang again, longer this time. I felt tears burn behind my eyes. It took everything not to scream. I whispered, "I'm calling the police," even though I knew whoever was out there couldn't hear me. Or at least, I hoped they couldn't. I walked toward the kitchen to grab my phone, and something tapped the living room window. 3 slow taps. I dropped my phone. The cat bolted upstairs. I turned toward the window and felt my throat close. A shadow. A tall shadow, standing just outside the glass. Still, unmoving, watching. I couldn't see a face, just the shape. I backed up with shaking legs, grabbed the car keys, and sprinted upstairs after the cat. I shut the bedroom door and called 911. This time it went through. I didn't whisper. I didn't try to sound calm. I told them someone was trying to get into the house. They told me to stay where I was and stay on the call. 2 minutes later, the alarm system suddenly started beeping like it had been tampered with. The operator asked, "Are you still safe?" I said yes, even though I wasn't sure. I heard footsteps downstairs. Heavy, deliberate, slow. Not cautious, confident, like they already knew the layout of the house. I held the doorknob so hard my fingers went numb. After what felt like forever, I saw blue and red lights flash through the blinds. The footsteps stopped. The house went dead silent. Police pounded on the door. I ran downstairs and let them in. They searched the entire house. Backyard, garage, side gate, nobody. But on the backyard camera, the one that had been glitching, they found something disturbing. The camera wasn't broken. The wires weren't chewed or cut. Someone had physically unscrewed it, twisted it, and taped a piece of black cloth over the lens. That silhouette I saw, that wasn't someone standing near the camera. That was someone reaching toward it to cover it up. Police found footprints in the dirt behind the house, leading to the rear fence. They measured them. Definitely a man. They asked if I knew anyone who'd want to mess with me. I didn't. They asked if Haley's aunt had enemies, exes, stalkers. I didn't know. Haley didn't know either. She looked horrified. When her aunt came home 2 days later, she wasn't surprised. That was maybe the worst part. She seemed genuinely unsurprised. She thanked me for staying, apologized, and paid me extra. But she didn't deny anything. She didn't question anything. She didn't even act shocked. She just said, "It's been happening less lately. I hoped he wouldn't come back while you were here." I asked who he was. She wouldn't answer. I left the house that day and never went back. A month later, the house went up for sale. It sold in 4 days. Some young couple bought it. I still wonder if they've seen what I saw, or heard what I heard. Sometimes, late at night, when my apartment gets too quiet, I swear I hear that creaking again. Slow, rhythmic, patient, like someone shifting their weight, waiting for me to notice. I never planned on becoming a house sitter. It wasn't even something I'd ever considered doing for money. But last spring, when my hours were cut at work and I was scrambling to keep up with bills, a friend told me about a site where people pay decent money just for someone to stay in their home while they travel. I figured, why not? Most jobs sounded easy. Water plants, check the mail, lock the doors at night. Nothing that required real effort. I took a few small gigs around my area before I got offered one that paid twice as much as anything else I'd done. The listing came from a couple named Matthew and Claire. Their house was about 30 minutes outside the city, kind of isolated, placed deeper in the woods than I normally liked, but the payment caught my eye immediately. $850 for 3 nights. I thought it was a mistake, but the description was clear. They just needed someone to stay there while they visited family out of state. The house had an alarm system, cameras, and motion detectors, so all I had to do was be present. No pets, no odd chores, just stay in the house. I spoke with Claire on the phone. She sounded normal, friendly, polite, maybe in her early 30s. She said they had a break-in attempt 3 years ago while they were out of town, and ever since then, they preferred someone to physically house sit when they traveled. "We've had no issues since," she told me, "but it gives us peace of mind." I took the job. The money alone made saying yes way too easy. When I drove up the first night, I realized their house wasn't just a bit outside the city, it was practically swallowed by trees. The driveway stretched long and curved, and by the time I reached the house, it felt like I'd left civilization completely. The place itself was big. 3 stories, tall windows, wrap-around porch. If it weren't so isolated, it would have been beautiful. Claire met me at the door. Matthew was loading their bags into the car. She gave me a quick tour. Kitchen, living room, guest room, where I'd be staying, and the alarm system near the front door. Before leaving, she hesitated. "If anything sets off the outside motion sensors," she said, "don't investigate it. Just check the tablet on the kitchen counter. It streams all our cameras." Then she forced a smile. "It's usually just deer." That comment stuck with me more than it probably should have. They left right after sunset. The house grew silent, the kind of silence that feels too thick, like it's listening. The first night started normally. I made dinner, watched TV, and tried to ignore how dark it was outside. No nearby neighbors, no road traffic, just woods. I went to bed around midnight. Sometime around 2:30 a.m., I woke up, not to a sound, but to the alarm tablet lighting up across the room. A motion alert. I sat up, wiped my eyes and looked. Motion detected, driveway camera. My stomach tightened. I tapped the feed. It was pitch black except for the faint outline of the driveway. Nothing moved. Nothing stood there. After watching for about 30 seconds, I convinced myself a deer had set it off. I went back to sleep. The next morning was peaceful. Sunlight came through the windows, birds chirped. Everything looked totally normal. I told myself the woods were just getting in my head. That peace lasted until 9:17 p.m. on night 2. I was in the living room scrolling on my phone when the motion alert chimed again. Motion detected, backyard. I opened the camera feed immediately. Again, nothing. The yard behind the house was huge and mostly grass, but beyond that was the tree line. The feed looked stable. No glitches, no animals, just emptiness. I watched for 2 full minutes. Nothing moved. I was just about to shut the tablet off when I realized something unsettling. The grass nearest the tree line looked pressed down, flattened, like someone had been standing there. I zoomed in. The tablet glitched slightly from the zoom, but stabilized fast. The flattened patch looked too narrow to be an animal. I stared for a long time, but forced myself to stop overthinking. The tablet didn't show any movement, and the alarm wasn't sounding. I tried to sleep again that night, but I woke up 3 times to alerts. Driveway, porch, backyard again, and it was always the same. Movement trigger, but no movement visible. By morning, I felt like I'd slept maybe an hour total. I messaged Claire around noon and told her the sensors kept going off, but I wasn't seeing anything on camera. She wrote back an hour later, "They're old sensors. Happens occasionally. Thanks for checking." I let it go. But something about her message felt off. Too calm, like she expected this. That evening, right before the 3rd night, rain started pouring hard. The kind that makes every window vibrate. I tried to distract myself with TV, but kept glancing toward the glass, half expecting to see someone standing outside. Around 11:50 p.m., I locked up the house and went to bed early, hoping exhaustion would knock me out. It didn't, because at 1:06 a.m., I woke to the loudest alert the system had, a piercing, continuous alarm that meant only one thing. Someone entered the property boundary. The tablet lit up red. Alert, north side, motion zone. I grabbed the tablet with shaking hands and opened the live feed. This time something was there. Not a person. At least, not clearly. But a shape. A tall, unmoving silhouette, right at the edge of the tree line. It looked like the shape of a person, but I couldn't see details. Too dark, too much rain. The figure didn't move, didn't shift, didn't react to the flashing infrared light. It just stood there. My mouth went dry. I zoomed in slowly, expecting it to vanish from being a trick of the lighting. But zooming made it clearer. It looked like a person facing the house, just watching. I didn't breathe for a good 10 seconds. Then the tablet glitched. The feed froze. Then cut to black. My heart dropped. I reopened the camera. The shape was gone. I checked every feed. Driveway, porch, backyard, side yard, nothing. But I knew what I saw. And it wasn't an animal, wasn't a shadow, wasn't a branch. I locked the bedroom door, even though I knew it wouldn't stop much if someone got inside. I stayed awake, clutching the tablet, listening. The alarm didn't go off again for about 30 minutes. Then, at 1:41 a.m., an alert popped up silently, almost like the system was glitching again. Garage interior camera, motion detected. My stomach nearly flipped out of my body. Garage interior, meaning whatever triggered it was already inside the house. I tapped the camera so fast I almost dropped the tablet. The garage feed lit up, empty, completely empty. I scanned every corner, the floor, the back wall. Behind the car, nothing. No movement, no person, no animal, just emptiness. The feed wasn't frozen this time. I watched for nearly a full minute, nothing. Then another alert appeared. Living room. My blood turned cold. I switched cameras immediately. The living room looked exactly how I left it. Couch, lamp, TV. No one there, no movement. I checked the front door camera, still locked. Porch empty. But something new appeared. Another alert, stacking under the others. Hallway. Before I could tap it, another one came. Guest room hall. Then another. Staircase. Then upstairs hall. It felt like something was moving through the house. Something the cameras could sense, but not show. I was frozen, terrified, fighting every instinct in my body telling me to run. Finally, I forced myself to tap the upstairs hall feed. The moment it loaded, I nearly threw the tablet. Something was standing at the end of the hallway. Not close, not near the camera, far, but tall, thin, still, facing the direction of the guest room I was in. The figure wasn't clear, more like a distortion, like the camera couldn't focus on it. Its outline flickered slightly, like it was glitching in real time. I stared at it, paralyzed. And then, slowly, it moved. Not stepped, not moved. It just tilted its head sideways like it was studying the camera. My chest tightened instantly. I slammed the tablet face down on the bed like a child hiding from a nightmare. My hands were shaking uncontrollably. I grabbed my shoes, grabbed my keys, and pressed my ear to the bedroom door. Nothing. No footsteps, no breathing, no creaking floorboards. Nothing. The house was dead silent. I made a decision I still don't fully understand. I ran. I unlocked the door, sprinted down the stairs, didn't look at the living room, didn't look toward the garage, didn't check behind me. I ran straight out the front door, into the rain, and into my car. I peeled out of the driveway so fast I almost hit a tree. I didn't stop until I was back in the city. I didn't go back the next morning. I didn't collect my payment. I didn't answer Claire's messages when she asked why the alarm company notified them of system disruptions overnight. I didn't tell her about the silhouette in the woods or the figure in the hallway. I didn't tell anyone for months. But sometimes I think about the way she hesitated before they left. How she told me not to check the motion sensors outside. How calm she seemed when I said they kept going off. And I can't help wondering if I wasn't the first person to see something in that house, or if that attempted break-in 3 years ago wasn't a break-in at all. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that figure standing in the upstairs hallway, that unnatural flicker, that long, still shape, and I wonder if it stayed in the house, or if it followed them wherever they went next.